Hey guys, tonight we begin with something prehistoric and slightly terrifying. A time of thunder lizards, sweltering jungles, and a complete lack of indoor plumbing. We're diving into what life was actually like in the late Cretaceous. Forget Jurassic Park. Forget Chris Pratt. The truth? You wouldn't survive past breakfast. So before you get comfortable, take a second to like and subscribe, but only if you're into waking up with a dinosaur sniffing your hair. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan to drown out the existential dread. Let's begin. Congratulations. You've just woken up in the year 66 million BC. The good news? You're technically alive. The bad news? So is literally everything else, and most of it wants to kill you. Your bed, if you can call it that, is a damp patch of moss under a rotting log. It's crawling with beetles, a few leeches, and something that might be an early cousin of the modern possum. Except this one hisses louder and has 3 rows of teeth. You slept with one eye open because a troodon sniffed past last night, and you're fairly certain it made direct eye contact with your soul. No mattress, no pillows, just your own arms for warmth and a cloak made of woven leaves that smells like wet ferns and despair. You sit up. Bad move. Your back cracks like a bundle of dry twigs, and your neck feels like it's been used as a nest by a pterosaur. Your skin is coated in a layer of sweat, mud, and something yellow that you hope is tree sap. Spoiler, it's not. A distant rumble rolls across the canopy. Could be thunder. Could be a herd of hadrosaurs stampeding toward a watering hole. Could be something else. You try to stand. Your foot lands directly on a thorn. You muffle a scream because, fun fact, noise attracts predators, and your screams sound exactly like a wounded protoceratops. Your morning routine is simple. Don't die. Find food before you become food. Repeat. You sniff your armpit. It smells like moldy pine cones and defeat. But don't worry. Nobody's judging. Fashion hasn't been invented yet, and your only accessory is a rock you found that looks vaguely like a potato. You've named it Kevin. Behind you, a buzzing cloud of blood-sucking insects has woken up and is already circling like you're the early bird special. In the trees, a microraptor is screeching, either to warn others or to announce that brunch has arrived. Either way, it's not great for you. You haven't had a proper meal in 3 days. Yesterday's feast consisted of a half-digested fruit and some crunchy beetles you didn't realize were still alive. Your stomach growls like a juvenile ankylosaur in a bad mood. You glance toward the river. It's brown, slow-moving, and smells faintly of rotting meat, which means something died in there recently. Could be food, could be a warning. But hey, protein is protein. You shuffle toward the river like an injured duck with commitment issues. Every branch you snap sounds like a dinner bell. Every squelch underfoot could be mud or a decomposing nest. The trees above are massive, alien really. Towering ferns, cycads the size of buses, and vines that have absolutely no respect for your personal space. The air is thick, not humid, oppressive. Every breath feels like sipping soup through your nose. A dragonfly the size of a frisbee buzzes past your head. You duck. It ignores you, because even in this era, you're not at the top of the food chain. You're barely on the menu. By the time you reach the riverbank, your legs are covered in mosquito bites the size of thumbnails, and you've swallowed at least 3 bugs. 2 of them might have had names. The water itself is still, too still. You crouch, you sniff, you regret everything. There's a carcass floating nearby, something with scales, something large. A few hours ago, it was alive. Now it's lunch. Possibly yours, possibly someone else's. The question is, how badly do you want to eat today? You poke the water with a stick. Nothing happens. Then the stick disappears. You decide you're not that hungry. You turn back toward your shelter, a generous term for the 3 sticks you leaned against a tree. But something's off. There's a footprint, a new one. 3 claws, deep impressions, about the size of your head. Your brain helpfully identifies it as definitely not yours. Panic knocks. You open the door. You don't run. Running makes noise. Instead, you creep sideways, stepping on every dry leaf in a 10-mile radius, like you're performing in the Loudest Man Alive finals. There's movement in the underbrush, a flick of a tail, a hiss, and then silence. You are, once again, not the apex predator. You are, let's say, the optional side dish. You keep moving, farther from camp, deeper into the jungle, where the light turns green and every tree looks like it's watching you. You're not imagining that. One of them has eyes. They blink. You pass a clearing. A herd of something is grazing, duck-billed, harmless-looking. You exhale. You're safe. Until the largest of them lets out a warning bellow, and the entire forest reacts. Birds take off. Insects scatter. The air pressure changes. Then comes the roar. It's not a roar, really. More like the sound a landslide would make if it were angry and had teeth. The hadrosaurs bolt. You stand frozen, and that's when you see it. A tyrannosaur. Massive. Elegant. A 7-ton scaly nightmare wearing a toothy grin. It doesn't see you. Yet. But it could. And it will. You drop to the ground, pressing yourself into the mud, like it's a weighted blanket for panic. You don't breathe. You don't blink. The T-Rex moves past, slow and deliberate. Each step leaves a crater. Each step rattles your spine. Eventually, it's gone. You wait. 5 seconds. 10. Then you run. Silently. Ineffectively. And you don't stop until your lungs feel like they're trying to exit your body through your throat. You collapse by a fallen tree. You're soaked in sweat, filth, and existential dread. But you're alive. For now. Welcome to the late Cretaceous. Still want to go paleo? Hunting, of course, is a generous word. You don't have a spear. You don't have a bow. You have a sharp rock and a vague sense of desperation. Perfect combo. You creep through the underbrush like a slightly smarter snack. Every leaf crunches. Every stick breaks. You are, in this moment, less hunter and more moving buffet special. Still, food is out there. Maybe a lizard. Maybe a nest of eggs. Maybe a conveniently dead animal that died peacefully in its sleep and is still somehow fresh, seasoned, and pre-cut into strips. You spot something. Movement. A rustle in the ferns. You freeze. Then it steps out. A Alinosaura. Small, 2-legged, big-eyed, fluffy-tailed. Looks like a dinosaur designed by a committee that couldn't agree between deadly reptile and adorable forest gremlin. It sniffs the air. So do you. It smells like hope. You inch forward, slowly, carefully, holding your rock like it's Excalibur and you're the world's worst knight. Then you sneeze, because, of course, you're allergic to ferns. The Elenosaura bolts. Gone. A streak of feathers and bad luck vanishing into the jungle. You stand there, rock in hand, staring at where your breakfast used to be. Somewhere in the distance, a larger predator makes a note of your location. Fine. New plan. You look for eggs. Something left unattended. A nest that doesn't belong to a creature capable of ending you in 3 chomps or less. You find one, hidden under roots, half covered in moss. 3 pale speckled ovals the size of your fist. You lean in. They're warm. That's good. Also bad. Because warm means recent. And recent means someone's coming back. You take one anyway. Because survival beats manners. You back away slowly, holding your stolen treasure like it's a sacred artifact from the temple of poor life choices. You don't get far. There's a sound behind you. A low, vibrating growl that seems to hum in your chest more than your ears. You turn. There it is. Mama. Velociraptor mongoliensis. Not the man-sized movie monster you remember. This one's smaller, faster, meaner. Feathers like a murder chicken, eyes like boiling oil, and a curved claw designed specifically for eviscerating regretful thieves like yourself. It screeches. You scream. The egg drops. You run. Branches slap your face. Thorns rip your legs. Your lungs burn. Your dignity is gone. Behind you, rustling, hissing, claws tapping against stone. It's close. Too close. You leap a fallen log and land in something wet and sticky. You don't look down. You don't want to know. You dive into a shallow gully, burying yourself in mud and panic. The raptor pauses at the edge, sniffs, snarls, waits. Then, a rustle in the opposite direction. Something bigger, scarier. The raptor hesitates. Survival logic kicks in. It bolts the other way. You exhale for the first time in a full minute, mouth open, face covered in something that smells like expired soup. You're alive. Barely. Welcome to day 1. You're still in the mud, heart pounding, skin crawling, smelling like something that got sneezed out of a swamp. You sit up slowly, like a survivor in a post-apocalyptic film, except the apocalypse hasn't happened yet. You're pre-history. Congratulations. You're living in a time before even the idea of trauma existed. And yet, somehow, you've already got plenty. You assess the damage. Scratched, filthy, and clutching an egg that is now, let's be honest, completely unsalvageable. You toss it aside. It squelches. That's a sentence you never wanted to live. You limp uphill toward a clearing, a better vantage point, also slightly drier. Mostly, you want to be anywhere that isn't raptor ambush trench. You find a high ridge, overlook the forest. It's breathtaking. Gigantic trees stretch into the clouds like ancient gods frozen mid-reach. Strange birds flit between branches, some with wingspans wider than your childhood bedroom. A herd of Corythosaurus lumbers across a distant field, honking at one another like confused ducks in a marching band. For one moment, everything is still, and you think, wow, this is actually beautiful. Then your stomach growls like a demon being kicked awake in a volcano. Right, food. You root through a patch of low ferns. You find a grub the size of your thumb. It looks at you. You look back. One of you is about to make a very poor dietary decision. You eat it. The texture is somewhere between toothpaste and betrayal. But hey, protein. You chew slowly, eyes watering, questioning every life choice that brought you to this moment, including birth. You hear rustling nearby. You freeze. Again. Out steps a baby triceratops, barely waist high. Big eyes, little horns, wobbly knees. Your brain short circuits from how weirdly cute it is. Then you remember, if there's a baby, there's a mother. And that mother weighs several tons and has the temperament of a tank with a toothache. You back away slowly. The baby snorts and chases a butterfly. You take that as your cue to leave. Immediately, quietly, and preferably without being turned into a cautionary tale. You make it to a rocky outcrop. There's warmth here, sunlit stone. For the first time all day, you sit and breathe. A moment of peace. You close your eyes. You listen to the world. Wind through palm leaves. Distant chirps. Something exploding in the jungle far away. Probably fine. For now, you're okay. You're alive. You're alone. You're exhausted. And you're about to fall asleep in a world where sleep is an open invitation to predators. But honestly, you're too tired to care. You wake up to the sensation of something licking your foot. This is not a metaphor. You look down, bleary-eyed, and there it is, a dromaeosaurus, about the size of a turkey, covered in feathers, big glassy eyes, and a snout currently investigating your toes like it's browsing appetizers. You don't move. Neither does it. This is a standoff between two animals who absolutely do not want to be here. It blinks. You blink back. It chirps, softly, like a squeaky door hinge trying to be polite. Then, mercifully, it scurries off into the undergrowth, leaving you with damp toes and a new respect for your foot's survival instincts. You sit up, crack your neck, stretch your spine, immediately regret both of those things. Time to move. Because here, stillness is death, and not the poetic kind, the kind where something eats your head and then works its way down alphabetically. You hike eastward through dense jungle where every plant looks like it either wants to strangle you or write a folk song about your demise. A vine tries to trip you. A flower sprays something into your face. You sneeze again, because prehistoric pollen is aggressively personal. Then, a clearing, and in the center, a carcass, fresh, recently killed, still steaming, massive claw marks across the ribs. You approach, slowly, because clearly, nothing could possibly go wrong here. Flies buzz, steam rises. You recognize it as an ankylosaurus, all armor and clubbed tail, like a tank that decided to cosplay as a turtle. Whatever killed this thing wasn't small or kind. You hear a snap behind you. You turn, and the world shifts into slow motion. A shadow moves between trees. A tail, thick and striped. Teeth, too many of them. It's back, not the raptor. Worse, Giganotosaurus, bigger than a T-Rex, faster than your thoughts, hungrier than your last 3 ancestors combined. It hasn't seen you yet. You have 3 options: freeze, run, die in a way that will absolutely not be written down in any history book. You choose door number 1, freeze, and for once, it works. The predator moves toward the carcass, snorting, sniffing, tail swaying, like a wrecking ball auditioning for Swan Lake. It lowers its head, starts feeding. The sound is wet. You look away. You've seen enough documentaries to know this part's for the other camera crew. You inch backward. 1 step. 2. A branch cracks under your heel like a gunshot in a library. The dinosaur stops chewing, lifts its head, sniffs. Your heart tries to claw its way out through your rib cage. Then it turns away, goes back to eating. Apparently, you don't rank high enough to interrupt lunch. You don't wait for dessert. You run. Again. Your new cardio program is called Don't Get Devoured. You don't stop running until the jungle swallows the sky. The trees here are older, taller, tangled like nature forgot what direction was. The light barely gets through. Everything is green, damp, and vaguely judgmental. You're looking for shelter, somewhere small, dark, preferably not already occupied by something with too many legs or too many teeth. And then you see it. A cave, carved into the base of a cliff, half hidden behind hanging moss and the world's least inviting spider web. You approach cautiously, announcing your presence with the kind of timid throat clear that says, "I'm harmless. Please don't eat me. I taste like anxiety and bad decisions." No response. Excellent. You duck inside. It's dark. Cool. Quiet. Except for the occasional drip of water and your own breathing, which sounds like a panicked accordion left on a roller coaster. You settle in, back against a wall, arms around your knees. You made it. You're safe. Well, safe in the prehistoric sense, which still includes spiders the size of salad plates and centipedes that should legally require license plates. You close your eyes. Breathe. For the first time in hours, there's nothing chasing you. No screeching, no rustling, just stillness. And that's when you hear the low rumble. Not thunder, not growling, breathing, not yours. Something deep in the cave exhales. You open your eyes, and there it is. 2 yellow glints, far back, reflecting the faintest light. You freeze. Your brain says, "Don't move." Your legs say, "Too late." Your stomach says, "We're doing this now." A shape shifts, massive, coiled, silent. It steps forward, slowly. And it's not a dinosaur. It's a megarachne. Technically, not a spider. Emotionally, worse. Its legs are long and jointed like angry fingers. Its body, armored and glistening. Its eyes, too many. Its patience, minimal. You, an uninvited guest, are currently sitting in its prehistoric living room. You stand, you bow, you back out like a polite Victorian leaving a room they walked into by mistake. And then you run again, back into the jungle, back into the noise and the light and the relatively manageable terror of dinosaur country. Because honestly, you'll take sharp teeth over 8 legs any day. You've escaped the cave. You're muddy, shaking, slightly traumatized, and somehow still hungry. You climb a ridge just to feel like you've accomplished something today besides not being swallowed. And that's when you see it. The clearing. Wide, open, quiet. Which, as always in this world, is suspicious. In the center stands a Therizinosaurus. Now, if you've never seen one of these, imagine a nightmare drew a sloth, but gave up halfway and added scythes for fingers. It stands tall, way too tall. Feathers like a rejected muppet, beady eyes, and claws so long they look photoshopped by a bored teenager. You duck behind a log. It's grazing on plants, like a peaceful giant holding kitchen knives. It rakes the vegetation with those claws, gently scooping leaves like salad from hell. You breathe easy. Then it sneezes, and birds take off for miles. Next, you spot a pair of Pachycephalosaurus, dome-headed dinosaurs. One of them headbutts a tree. The tree loses. They grunt, circle, and then, wham, headbutt each other like it's a contact sport for creatures with no health insurance. You watch this for 5 minutes, not because you want to, but because you physically cannot look away. It's like prehistoric reality TV, keeping up with the craniums. Eventually, one of them wanders off, dizzy, the loser. The victor looks smug or concussed. Hard to tell. You move on, because now you're curious. You want to see what else evolution cooked up before deciding on cat and pigeon. And that's when you hear a chirp. Not a roar, not a growl. A chirp. You follow it and find a Mononychus, tiny, fluffy, with one single finger on each arm, like evolution got tired and just said, yeah, whatever, print it. It's scratching the dirt, trying to find insects, looking very proud of itself for doing something vaguely useful. You crouch. It looks at you. You both share a moment of mutual confusion. And then, a sound. Low, rattling. You freeze. Because you know that sound now. It means something bigger, just noticed something smaller. And right now, you're the smaller. You don't stop running until the jungle swallows the sky. The trees here are older, taller, tangled like nature forgot what direction was. The light barely gets through. Everything is green, damp, and vaguely judgmental. You're looking for shelter, somewhere small, dark, preferably not already occupied by something with too many legs or too many teeth. And then you see it. A cave, carved into the base of a cliff, half hidden behind hanging moss and the world's least inviting spider web. You approach cautiously, announcing your presence with the kind of timid throat clear that says, I'm harmless. Please don't eat me. I taste like anxiety and bad decisions. No response. Excellent. You duck inside. It's dark. Cool. Quiet. Except for the occasional drip of water and your own breathing, which sounds like a panicked accordion left on a roller coaster. You settle in, back against a wall, arms around your knees. You made it. You're safe. Well, safe in the prehistoric sense, which still includes spiders the size of salad plates and centipedes that should legally require license plates. You close your eyes, breathe. For the first time in hours, there's nothing chasing you. No screeching, no rustling, just stillness. And that's when you hear the low rumble, not thunder, not growling, breathing, not yours. Something deep in the cave exhales. You open your eyes, and there it is. 2 yellow glints, far back, reflecting the faintest light. You freeze. Your brain says, don't move. Your legs say, too late. Your stomach says, we're doing this now. A shape shifts, massive, coiled, silent. It steps forward, slowly. And it's not a dinosaur. It's a mega-arachne. Technically, not a spider. Emotionally, worse. Its legs are long and jointed like angry fingers. Its body, armored and glistening. Its eyes, too many. Its patience, minimal. You, an uninvited guest, are currently sitting in its prehistoric living room. You stand, you bow, you back out like a polite Victorian leaving a room they walked into by mistake. And then you run again, back into the jungle, back into the noise and the light and the relatively manageable terror of dinosaur country. Because honestly, you'll take sharp teeth over 8 legs any day. You've escaped the cave. You're muddy, shaking, slightly traumatized, and somehow still hungry. You climb a ridge just to feel like you've accomplished something today besides not being swallowed. And that's when you see it. The clearing. Wide, open, quiet. Which, as always in this world, is suspicious. In the center stands a Therizinosaurus. Now, if you've never seen one of these, imagine a nightmare drew a sloth, but gave up halfway and added scythes for fingers. It stands tall, way too tall. Feathers like a rejected muppet, beady eyes, and claws so long they look photoshopped by a bored teenager. You duck behind a log. It's grazing on plants, like a peaceful giant holding kitchen knives. It rakes the vegetation with those claws, gently scooping leaves like salad from hell. You breathe easy. Then it sneezes, and birds take off for miles. Next, you spot a pair of Pachycephalosaurus, dome-headed dinosaurs. One of them headbutts a tree. The tree loses. They grunt, circle, and then, wham, headbutt each other like it's a contact sport for creatures with no health insurance. You watch this for 5 minutes, not because you want to, but because you physically cannot look away. It's like prehistoric reality TV, keeping up with the craniums. Eventually, one of them wanders off, dizzy, the loser. The victor looks smug or concussed. Hard to tell. You move on, because now you're curious. You want to see what else evolution cooked up before deciding on cat and pigeon. And that's when you hear a chirp, not a roar, not a growl. A chirp. You follow it and find a Mononychus, tiny, fluffy, with one single finger on each arm, like evolution got tired and just said, yeah, whatever, print it. It's scratching the dirt, trying to find insects, looking very proud of itself for doing something vaguely useful. You crouch. It looks at you. You both share a moment of mutual confusion. And then, a sound. Low, rattling. You freeze, because you know that sound now. It means something bigger, just noticed something smaller. And right now, you're the smaller. The rattling gets louder, leaves shake, birds scatter. Your instincts start drafting their resignation letter. You back up, slowly, but your foot lands on a brittle stick. Snap. Silence. Then, something bursts from the canopy. You duck. Instinct? Luck? Pure, clumsy panic? Doesn't matter, because above you, slicing through the air like a prehistoric fighter jet, is a Tropeognathus, 30-foot wingspan, pointed beak, skull crest like it's auditioning for an 80s rock band, and absolutely zero chill. It screams past, screeching like a kettle left on the stove too long. You dive into the brush. It circles, looking for movement, looking for lunch. Looking at you, you hold still. A single mosquito buzzes near your face. You debate whether the slap is worth your life. It isn't. The flying menace finally loses interest, distracted by something tastier in the distance. Possibly a smaller dinosaur. Possibly the concept of your dignity. You stand up, brushing off leaves. Your hands are shaking. But now you know something important. There is no safe direction. Air, death. Ground, death. Underground, spiders. Water, don't even start. Still, curiosity is a disease. You keep walking, and that's when you find the bones. A clearing littered with rib cages and skulls, like it's a Black Friday sale at a fossil warehouse. In the middle stands a lone Dinosaurus. It looks confused, like an ostrich, a duck, and a bear all collided at high speed and then gave up on explaining themselves. It's just standing there, enormous, feathered, mouth slightly open, arms swaying with claws that seem decorative at best. You stare at it. It stares back. You blink. It blinks slower. For a moment, you both accept the absurdity of each other's existence. Then it sneezes, so violently, it scares itself and waddles off like someone trying not to fall in flip-flops. You exhale, laugh once, a short, slightly hysterical sound. Because here's the truth. This world is ridiculous, but you're still alive in it. And that somehow feels like a win. The light's dying. Again. This world has about two moods, too bright to hide, and too dark to see what's hunting you. You push through thick undergrowth. Every leaf slaps your face like it's offended you personally. Your legs are sore. Your brain is fried. And your only goal now is sleep. But not cave with spider sleep. You're aiming for relatively not eaten sleep. Eventually, you find a hollow, shallow, rocky, but dry. No bones, no scat, no ominous claw marks on the walls. By this world's standards, that's 5 stars. You sit down, wrap your arms around your knees, and watch the last scraps of sunlight disappear behind the trees. A chorus begins. Chirps, croaks, roars, distant but unsettling. And then, a low call, long, drawn out, not distant. You freeze, and emerging from the trees comes the silhouette of a Carnotaurus. Short arms, big legs, horns above the eyes, because subtlety is for mammals. It lumbers forward, sniffing the air. You slide down into the hollow, face in dirt, trying to become part of the ground through sheer anxiety. It snorts once, then keeps walking. Apparently, the dirt tactic works. You file that away under horrible but effective. Morning comes, as rude and abrupt as ever. You ache in places you didn't know existed. There's a leaf stuck to your cheek. You look and feel like someone who's been cry-lost in a botanical garden for a week. But you're alive. Again. So you walk. Through a forest soaked in dew and prehistoric dread, you trek forward until the land begins to slope. And there it is, the marsh. A vast, bubbling wetland filled with ferns, reeds, and enough buzzing insects to make you wish for extinction. And standing in the middle of it, a Spinosaurus. It's massive. A crocodile had a bad dream, and then became this. Sail on its back, jaws made for fishing and nightmares. It stomps through the shallows, jaws snapping at fish that are somehow also massive. It doesn't notice you, and you don't want it to. You crouch in reeds, praying to gods you don't believe in, that you don't smell too delicious. It roars, birds scatter, water ripples. You bite your lip to stop from screaming. Then it dives, vanishing under the surface like a submarine with issues. You don't wait. You get up. You walk. Fast. Because anything that big shouldn't be that good at swimming. Back on drier land, the forest shifts. It's quieter here. Cooler. More open. You think maybe, just maybe, you've found a safer zone. You're wrong. A Quetzalcoatlus swoops overhead. It's the size of a small plane. A giraffe that learned to fly. Its beak alone could eat your torso in one crunchy gulp. You duck into a tree hollow. Again, your new hobby is hiding in things. The creature glides away. You exhale and emerge, slowly, like a sentient anxiety burrito. And that's when the ground shakes. Boom, boom, boom. You turn. It's an Argentinosaurus, the biggest thing you've ever seen. It moves like a mountain that got bored of sitting still. Birds nest in its back. It steps over trees like they're patches of moss. And you? You're not even on its radar. For once, being small is your superpower. You sit down, overwhelmed, and just watch. It's beautiful, terrifying, and weirdly calming, like watching the earth breathe. You rest, finally, under a sun-dappled tree, beside a slow river. You feel peace. The water glistens, the bugs hum. A dragonfly the size of a ruler lands nearby, regards you like an alien, then zips away. You lean back and stare at the sky. Pterosaurs drift like kites. Somewhere in the distance, a dino shrieks. But it sounds far enough away not to ruin your nap. You've made it. A full day. You've run, hidden, eaten a bug, dodged death by spider, death by teeth, and death by aviation. And now, you close your eyes, let your breathing slow, and for a brief, glorious moment, you forget you're 65 million years from home. You wake up to something crawling across your lip. You swat instinctively, not because you know what it is, but because you absolutely don't want to. It makes a wet, popping sound as it hits the ground. You don't look to identify it. Some things are better left unconfirmed. It's not even sunrise. The sky is just starting to hint at daylight. with that sickly, grey-pink haze that tells you it's going to be another scorcher. Your body aches. You haven't had a proper rest in days. You haven't had food that didn't scream going down. And you're starting to forget what clean smells like. You sit up, immediately regret it. There's a stick jammed between your ribs, and your left leg is asleep, but also somehow cramping. Your back cracks so loudly, you scare a nearby flock of proto-birds. You brush yourself off, which mostly just relocates dirt from one part of your body to another. You're not clean. You're redistributed. You stand and take stock of your surroundings. Dense jungle, low canopy, humid enough to chew. Everything around you is buzzing, and not in the fun, summery way. These are the industrial-grade, nightmare-bred insects of the Cretaceous. Some of them fly, some of them walk. A few of them probably vote. You haven't eaten since... Nope. You don't even remember. You think you ate a fruit yesterday, but it might have been a lizard disguised as a fruit. Either way, it gave you the energy to survive being chased by a two-legged feathered nightmare with knife hands. South Fair trade. Your stomach growls. You whisper back, "I know." You begin to walk. Because walking is survival. Not in the sense that it's safe, just that stopping gets you eaten. The terrain slopes upward. You scramble over a tree root the size of a minivan and realize you're standing on the shoulder of a dried-out riverbed. It's cracked and dusty, littered with tracks. You recognize some of them. You wish you didn't. Three-toed, deep, widely spaced. Raptor, 4 stubby digits in a round sprawl. Probably a hadrosaur. Massive circular indents with drag marks trailing behind. Sauropod. And then, something you don't recognize. It's like a giant starfish met a bear and decided to stomp through mud for fun. No thank you. You keep walking. Halfway through the ridge, you hear buzzing. Louder now. Closer. You swat reflexively. It doesn't help. You're swarmed by a cloud of insects that are more organized than most modern governments. They descend on your neck, arms, eyelids. You wave, you flail, you slap yourself repeatedly. This is not self-defense. This is a beating. On yourself. Sponsored by evolution. You plunge your head into a bush to escape them, which, in hindsight, is what's known in biology as a bad decision. Something hisses. Something inside the bush. You fall backwards, trip over a root, land flat on your back, and make direct eye contact with a creature that looks like it was designed by someone who got bored halfway through and just said, "Let's add teeth." A lot of them. It doesn't chase you. It just hisses again, turns around, and waddles off, like it couldn't be bothered, which is somehow worse. You follow the ridge east. The sun's climbing higher now, and so is the temperature. You're sweating from places you didn't know had pores. Your clothes, such as they are soaked, and you smell like what would happen if fear had a flavor, and that flavor was left in a gym sock overnight. Then, in the distance, water. A real river. You run. Well, more of a stumble, hop, limp. But it's progress. You reach the bank and collapse beside it, panting. The water is moving, slow but clear. You cup your hands and drink. It tastes like hope, and probably parasites. You wash your face, splash your neck, feel somewhat human again, which is a lie. You look like a raccoon that lost a fistfight with a lawnmower. but the feeling is nice. You sit in the shallows, watching distant shadows move across the far bank. A herd of iguanodon, long arms, thick tails, waddling along in a lazy convoy like prehistoric commuters. They don't notice you, they don't care, and you envy that. You hear a rustle behind you. Freeze. Turn slowly. It's a juvenile Psittacosaurus, parrot-faced, pig-sized, and chewing on something that looks like a rubbery mushroom. It sees you, pauses, then drops the mushroom and sprints in the opposite direction, like it just remembered it left the oven on. You sit still a while longer, not because you're peaceful, because every muscle hurts and you know something else is coming. It always does. You're moving again, because rest is a luxury and stillness gets you eaten. Your clothes are half dry, which means they're now extra uncomfortable. The fabric sticks to your skin with every step, chafing like sandpaper dipped in betrayal. Your legs are sore, your mouth's gone dry again, and your stomach is sending increasingly rude messages to your brain. The terrain starts changing. The forest thins. Trees grow shorter, twisted. The ground turns hard and cracked underfoot, a patchwork of black stone and pale dust. There's a faint smell in the air. At first, it's hard to place. Like eggs, burnt rubber, something chemical. Then you realize sulfur, which means you're heading into volcanic territory. Brilliant. You don't turn back, because turning back would imply you had a better option. You don't. So you press forward, past scorched tree trunks and steam vents that hiss at you like offended snakes. The temperature rises with every step. The air thickens. The ground becomes unstable, shifting slightly underfoot, like it's thinking about opening up beneath you just to see what happens. You hear a low groan in the distance. At first, you think it's your stomach. Then you realize the ground is talking. Somewhere nearby, a vent explodes in a burst of steam and ash. You flinch, instinctively crouch. It wasn't close enough to hit you, just close enough to let you know. This place has rules, and you don't know any of them. You skirt a boiling pool of grey-blue water, bubbling like a cursed jacuzzi. A crusty mineral shelf edges the pool, stained red, yellow, and bone-white. Something moved in there, beneath the surface. You don't wait to find out what. A little farther up, you find a cluster of dinosaurs. Camarasaurus, you think. Long-necked, heavy, moving slow. They're standing in the steam, like oversized cows at a sauna. Apparently, some species enjoy this death heat. One of them yawns. You're 90% sure it's sarcasm. Another lifts its tail and lets out a fart that could register on the Richter scale. The others don't react. You try not to breathe through your nose. Fail. You veer away from the group, climbing over a bank of jagged black stone. It's warm to the touch. Too warm. You pause at the crest. Look out across a field of solidified lava flows, twisted, frozen waves of black glass and jagged teeth. In the distance, smoke. A column rising slowly into the air. Not dramatic, not cinematic, just steady. That's where you're headed. Because in this world, walking toward danger is somehow safer than staying still. You descend the slope carefully. Your foot slips. You catch yourself on a rock. It cuts your hand. The blood is bright red. and very modern looking on the ancient landscape. You wrap it in a strip of cloth torn from what used to be a shirt sleeve. It's now a bandage/fashion statement. You're starting a line called Panic Core. The heat is relentless now. Even the bugs have left. Which is great, until you realize it means nothing wants to live here. You finally reach a stretch of earth that seems quieter, until the ground shifts beneath your feet. A tremor. Just one. Short. You freeze. Look around. A few pebbles roll down a nearby slope. You don't know what that means. You also don't like that you don't know what that means. So you walk faster, not towards safety, just away from whatever that was. A shadow passes overhead. You flinch again. It's a tapajara, a flying reptile with a bright head crest and the gliding grace of a hang glider designed by a drunk bird. It doesn't even glance at you. Apparently, you're below its pay grade. You watch it disappear into the smoke, a tiny triangle in a world of boiling stone. And then, you sit on a rock that doesn't burn you immediately. That counts as a win. For now. The heat hasn't let up. You're sweating through dirt, which you didn't even know was possible. But congratulations, you've unlocked grime mode. Every step forward kicks up a little puff of ash. Fine, powdery. It sticks to your skin, your mouth, the inside of your nostrils. You're now partially fossilizing yourself in real time. The terrain's flattened out into what looks like a dried lake bed of volcanic dust and regret. No trees, no cover, just cracked grey earth stretching in every direction, broken by sharp ridges and clusters of brittle black stone that crumble underfoot like burnt toast. You glance behind you. There are footprints, your own, and then another set, not yours, smaller, but deeper. You stop, scan the horizon. Nothing, which is worse than something. You keep moving, because if there's one lesson this era loves teaching, it's stop moving equals start dying. A few minutes later, you reach a ridge of what looks like cooled lava. It's folded and twisted like black rope, frozen mid-boil. You scramble up. The rock crumbles slightly, but you manage to crest the top. What you see is not better. The other side of the ridge drops suddenly, a steep decline into a valley of sharp-edged debris and open visibility. You can see everything, which means everything can see you. At the far end, you spot movement, something pale, slick, not a dinosaur, something else. You blink. It blinks back. Then it climbs out of the water. You don't know what it is. Long body, stubby legs, eyes too far apart, and skin like uncooked dough left on a beach too long. It hauls itself over a rock, opens its mouth, and then closes it like it forgot why. You slowly slide back down the ridge and pretend you never saw it. Because there are two kinds of prehistoric creatures, the ones you can identify and the ones that make you want to file a formal complaint with evolution. As you make your retreat, the ground shifts beneath you again. Another tremor. Only this time, longer. You brace yourself as small rocks begin tumbling down the slope beside you. Then, a crack. Loud, sharp, like the earth just stubbed its toe. You sprint sideways, just in time to watch a portion of the ridge collapse. It's not dramatic. There's no explosion, just the dull, sickening realization that the rock you were standing on 5 seconds ago now exists 20 feet lower, in shards. You don't stop to admire the view. After 15 minutes of skirting every suspicious patch of earth, you finally reach a cluster of jagged spires. They're tall, narrow, and arranged like a forest made of knives. You weave through them, careful not to brush against anything. The edges are sharp. You test one with your thumb. It bites back. You're bleeding again. Not much. Just enough to remind you that you're full of useful, easily spillable fluids. Something clatters nearby. You freeze. A small bipedal lizard darts across the rocks, clutching something shiny in its mouth. You watch it disappear into a crack in the stone. You wonder what it stole. You also wonder what the exchange rate is for your sanity in this economy. At last, you find a ledge. It overlooks a valley filled with mist, thick, white, curling around ancient trees like smoke from a sleeping dragon. You sit down, not because it's safe, but because it's not immediately on fire, exploding, or being hunted by knife-feathered velociraptors with anger issues. That's good enough for now. You begin the descent into the valley. The mist gets thicker with every step. It curls around your ankles first, cool, wet, and vaguely hostile. Then it creeps up your legs, past your waist, until the world is reduced to soft outlines and sharp sounds. You hear dripping, crunching, the occasional snap of something that might be a branch or might be bones, depending on your optimism. Visibility, about 3 body lengths, which, in prehistoric terms, is how far a predator needs to get a running start. You crouch low, quiet, slow steps. The ground here is soft, spongy, covered in moss and layers of decomposing plant matter that smell like rotting lettuce and forgotten salad bars. You pass twisted trees, warped, low, heavy with hanging vines that drip with moisture. Some of the vines move. You don't ask questions. Every time you exhale, it feels like you're giving away your position. Every time you inhale, it feels like the air might fight back. Then, in the fog, a noise, a sound that stops you cold. It's not a roar, not a growl. It's mechanical, number impossible, but it sounds like something old and rusted, dragging itself across stone. A low screech, like a broken gate hinge echoing through a metal cave. It comes again, closer. You crouch low behind a fallen log and peer through a gap in the fog. Something moves, something massive. You see, not scales, not feathers, plates. Armored, dark. It's not a stegosaur. Too tall, too long, and it's dragging something behind it. A tail, a limb, a broken chunk of the world. Then you hear the breathing. Labored, wet. This animal is injured, or angry, or both. You duck lower. Its silhouette passes barely 20 feet away. Its head is down. Its steps uneven. And then it stops, sniffs the air. You go completely still. No blinking, no breathing, no thoughts even. Just don't move, don't move, don't move. After an eternity measured in heartbeats and sweat beads, it lumbers on, swallowed again by fog and foliage. You stay frozen long after the sounds disappear. Because if this valley has one rule, it's this. The moment you think it's safe, it isn't. You move again. Carefully. Slower than before. Even the insects are quiet here, which, ironically, is louder than the jungle ever was. Eventually, you reach a stream, thin, fast-moving, full of cold, clear water and jagged rocks shaped like warning signs. You crouch and drink. The water tastes clean, which means you're probably being tricked. You scan the banks, a few muddy footprints, small, bipedal, nothing too worrying. Then a deeper one, clawed. You turn slowly and nothing. Still fog, still trees, still wrong. As you rise, something drops nearby. A fruit, bright red, lands with a soft, squishy sound and rolls to your foot. You didn't knock it loose. You look up. Nothing. Just a canopy of branches and dripping moss. Another fruit drops, and then another. You're being watched. No movement, no sound, just the distinct feeling that you've entered someone else's space, and they're letting you know. You step back, slow, turn, leave the stream behind. You don't run. Running makes noise. Running says, pray. You just vanish into the mist, like you were never here at all. The mist thins. It doesn't vanish. It just gives up slowly, fading like a warning that knows you're not listening. You step into a clearing, a real one this time. Wide, flat, treeless, no cover, no shadows, just a hard-baked dirt field dotted with cracked stones and low tufts of brush. It feels unnatural, too empty, too quiet, like everything else decided not to be here for a reason, and you didn't get the memo. You scan the horizon, low ridges in 3 directions, distant hills, a small rise of rock ahead that might pass for a hiding spot if you had time, which you don't. The sun is overhead now, high, white, brutal. No clouds, just heat radiating off the ground like invisible waves of exhaustion. You start walking across the clearing. Each step is louder than it should be. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Your shadow follows you like it's annoyed to be here. Halfway across, you spot something moving. Far right. Distant. It's a gallimimus. Fast. Nervous. Built like a stress dream with legs. Then another. Then 6. A whole group. They're grazing at the edge of the field. Twitchy and cautious. Every 10 seconds, one of them snaps their head up, scans, and goes still. You stop moving. Because if they're nervous, you should be nervous. Then it happens. All at once, the herd bolts. Not away from you. Across, toward the far ridge. You hear it next. That low, rolling boom of heavy feet, like thunder in a bad mood. You don't turn. You don't need to. You already know what's behind you. Tyrannosaurus. You run. Because of course you do. You sprint toward the rock formation. It's not close. It's not high. But it's better than the open. The ground shakes with every step behind you. Your feet barely land before they're off again. Your lungs burn. Your vision tunnels. Your thoughts reduce to one repeated word. Move. You hear the predator now. Breathing. Snorting. a growl rising in its throat like it's warming up for a performance you don't want front row seats to. You reach the rocks, scramble, climb, slice your hand open on a jagged edge. Don't care. You wedge yourself between two boulders, barely a gap wide enough for your body. You don't fit. You force it. Behind you, the impact. The tyrannosaur arrives. It stops, sniffs, waits. You're wedged, silent, bloodied, cramping, and praying that your scent is beneath its pay grade. A moment passes, then two. The tyrannosaur snorts, steps closer. Its shadow swallows you. You don't breathe. It leans in. You hear the sniff, a deep, wet drag of air, and then a sharp exhale that sprays hot, sour breath over your back. Then, a call. Somewhere else. Another sound. Another opportunity. The beast turns. Its tail sweeps nearby, clips the rock. Dust rains down. And then, it's gone. You stay wedged in place for another 5 minutes. Not because you're smart, because you physically can't move yet. Eventually, you slither out like a snake that's seen too much. You lie on the ground, face to the sky, covered in dirt, blood, and the kind of sweat that implies trauma. Not triumph, survival, but only just. You're still on the ground. Not because it's comfortable, just because nothing nearby is actively trying to eat you, and that currently qualifies as a resting position. Your body is an inventory of minor injuries. Scrapes, bruises, insect bites, one mildly shredded palm, and a backache that feels like it's been aging since the Jurassic. You sit up slowly. Every joint sounds like popcorn in a microwave. You reach for your canteen. You don't have one. Because this is 66 million BC, and the only things that carry water here are rivers and animals with jugulars. So, you do the next best thing. Stand up and limp toward a gully that might be a dry stream bed or a recently used dinosaur toilet. 50-50. It's dry now, but the rocks are smooth and sun-bleached. You follow it, eyes scanning for even the smallest shimmer of moisture. Above you, the sky shifts. Grey clouds. Fast. No thunder. Yet. Just that weird, cold hush. The kind of silence that means everything's watching. You keep walking. A breeze picks up. Gentle at first. Then harder. Then hot. A blast of wind that carries dust, pollen, ash, and the unmistakable feeling that you're about to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. You spot a shelter up ahead, a shallow rock overhang. It looks uninviting, but less uninviting than being pelted with prehistoric hailstones. You make it there just as the first drops fall. They're huge, heavy, and weirdly warm. Not refreshing, not cooling, just a different flavor of uncomfortable. You sit under the rock, knees up, arms around yourself. Across the field, a small group of Pachyrhinosaurus wanders slowly. They don't seem bothered by the weather, probably because they weigh a few tons and have built-in bone helmets. One of them stops, looks in your direction. You stay still. It stares for a moment, then snorts like it judged you and found you lacking. Fair. The rain picks up, thick sheets now, soaking the earth, turning dry paths into slick trails and exposing tracks that were hidden just moments before. You look down. The stream bed is no longer dry. It's filling, fast. You scramble out just in time to avoid becoming a footnote in the surprising causes of drowning section of natural history. Water pours down from the hills above, muddy and full of debris. Small creatures scatter, lizards, birds, some weird amphibian with too many toes. Everything's fleeing something. The question is, what? Lightning flashes. Finally. Not the dainty kind. This one lands somewhere nearby, with a noise like the atmosphere losing a bet. The pachyrhinosaurs flinch, then break into a trot, which for them is basically a thunderclap on legs. You back farther under the rock. You're dry-ish, exhausted, and in the middle of what might be the Cretaceous version of a seasonal cleanse. The ground vibrates slightly, thunder or movement, you're not sure. Your head throbs, your legs twitch like they're arguing over whether to collapse or sprint. You stay put, because running in the rain, on broken terrain, with limited energy and zero plan, that's how you end up on a bone pile. Eventually the storm eases. A few final cracks of thunder, some wind, then just dripping. Water off leaves, onto stone, into puddles. The world resets. Steam rises off the rocks. The dinosaurs reappear like nothing happened. And you? You do the same. You crawl out from under your rock, covered in mud, but not bones, still moving, still adapting, still not extinct. Yet, the storm's past. The air is wet, but not cool. Thick, like a sponge that's been microwaved. Steam curls off the rocks in lazy tendrils, and the entire jungle smells like someone spilled soup on a compost bin. You emerge from your shelter, soaked but functioning. Technically, you're stiff, exhausted, and trying to remember the last time your feet weren't actively protesting your choices. Everything feels wrong. Not danger wrong, not predator wrong, just off. The light is strange, not bright, not dark, just muted, like the sun's behind a filter. Bird-like calls echo through the trees, but even those sound more cautious than usual. No chatter, no screeches, just that weird, stretched-out silence between normal and not. You start walking again. You cross a clearing still soggy with rain. Muddy trails cut through the center, crisscross tracks of small herbivores, insects, and something with toes you're pretty sure shouldn't bend that way. You don't investigate. You climb a low hill, the rocks slippery beneath your feet. At the top, the view opens up. A wide valley spreads before you, rimmed with forest, thick with mist and the green kind of quiet that makes your ears ring. You spot a few familiar shapes, Myosaura, grazing in small groups, shoulder to shoulder, like cows with better posture. But even they're acting differently. No calls, no tail swipes, just heads down, eating, focused. You scan the horizon. Nothing obvious. Then, in the far distance, a line in the sky. Thin, pale, not a cloud, not smoke. It's just there. You blink. Still there. You don't know what it means, but the hairs on your arms stand up anyway. Back down the hill, you find a trail, beaten flat, wide, likely used by migrating dinosaurs. You follow it. The forest shifts around you again, thicker but calmer. At one point, you pass a broken nest, crushed eggshells, scattered leaves, Something got here first. You step over the mess without a word, because here, no one waits for birth announcements. You make it, or you don't. Midway down the trail, the ground starts rumbling again. But this isn't footsteps. This is everywhere. A deep, low vibration, like a subwoofer buried under the continent. Short, then gone. You stop walking. Wait. Nothing. Then, birds. Dozens of them. Not flying. Running. Bursting from the canopy. Scattering across the path. Wings half spread. Screeching. You press against a tree as they stampede past you. Gone in seconds. Then, silence. Again. Not peaceful. Not ambient. Just wrong. You keep moving, faster now. Whatever's in the air, whatever made them run, it's not done. The clouds above are darker now. But not from rain. Not from weather. Just darker. More of that strange line in the sky. Wider now. It arcs like a smudge across the horizon. And underneath it, light. A dull, reddish glow. Too far to identify, but close enough to feel. Something's coming. The animals know. You do too. You pick up the pace. Not running. Not yet. But something in your gut is already ahead of you, telling you, go. Now you're walking fast now, through thickets, over roots, across mud-slick trails. You're not sure where you're going, only that your body wants you away from wherever that glow is blooming behind the horizon. And now the animals are moving. Not one or two. Herds. A group of pachycephalosaurs barrels across the trail ahead, ducked low like bowling balls on legs. A few juveniles tumble behind them, squealing as they vanish into the trees. You press yourself against a tree trunk and watch it all blur past. Then, silence. Not the eerie quiet from before, but a gap, like the forest itself is holding its breath. Then it happens again. That deep rumble under your feet. Longer. Harder. Not a tremor. A pulse. The trees sway. Dust kicks up. You taste it. Chalk and iron. You look up. The sun is dimmer now, but the clouds haven't thickened. It's as if something is moving between the atmosphere and the ground, filtering light in a way you weren't supposed to see. You rub your eyes. They sting. Then you notice the leaves. They're curling, drooping, not from heat, from something else, like even the plants are tired of pretending things are fine. You crest another ridge, and that's when you see it. Far off, above the forest line, a line of fire. Not wildfire, not lightning-struck trees. The sky itself is glowing, a red smear across the upper atmosphere, bending slightly with the curve of the earth. It doesn't move fast. It doesn't grow. It just is, and every part of your brain that still believes in instincts starts screaming. Below you, the animals are converging. Big ones, tyrannosaurs even. Not hunting, not roaring, just moving, parallel to each other, side by side with herbivores they'd usually snack on, all heading away from that fire-smudged horizon, and none of them looking back. You step back from the ridge. You can't process it. This isn't a storm. It's not even weather. It's something else, something big, something final. The wind picks up again, hot, dry, pushing from behind you. You squint toward the sky. Ash, tiny flecks float in the air now. Not snow, not dust. Ash, from something burning far away, far above, far enough that you shouldn't smell it. And yet, here it is. It stings your throat. You cough once, twice. Wipe your mouth. Blood? Number? Just dry lips. You hope. You descend the ridge. Faster. There's no logic to your path anymore. Just away. Away from the glow. Away from the pulse. Away from the thing in the sky that hasn't landed, but already owns the place. You run until your lungs burn. Then you walk. Then you run again. You pass a fallen tree covered in lichen and realize it wasn't there this morning. You don't stop to think about what moved it. You pass a dead dinosaur, not eaten, not torn apart, just collapsed, eyes open, flies already there. No wounds, no blood, just stillness, like something flicked a switch and it turned off. You don't check for more. You just keep going, because somewhere inside you, deeper than logic, deeper than language, something is whispering, this is it. You're not walking anymore. You're not thinking. You're just moving through trees, across rivers, over rocks you would have avoided yesterday, under branches that whip your face and arms but don't even register anymore. Every survival instinct you've got is screaming in unison. And for once, you're listening. Because something's shifted. It's not just heat now, not just ash. The air itself is changing. You can feel it on your tongue. It tastes like metal and burnt bone. And somewhere underneath it all, there's a faint thrum, like a distant machine, or a massive horn being blown from miles away, underwater. You stop, only because the forest does. Trees thin, the ground opens up, and suddenly, you're standing on the rim of a massive basin, a crater, maybe, or a collapsed hill. Whatever it was, it's not natural, not recent, and not empty. Down below, dinosaurs gather. Dozens, possibly hundreds. A sea of motion, horns, crests, tails, claws. All of it weaving, flowing, congregating. Not fighting, not feeding. Just waiting. You crouch low behind a half-fallen tree and try to make sense of what you're seeing. Even the predators are quiet. A pair of dromaeosaurs slink along the edge of the basin. One of them looks up toward the sky, then drops its head again, almost respectful. You glance up too, and that's when you see it. Not a line, not a smear, not a glow, a shape. It moves, fast, silent, not across the horizon, through it, like something just arrived. A black spot against the sky at first, then orange, red, blue, white, then gone. Just like that. It disappears behind the curve of the earth. But you already know. Whatever it is, it's not going away. A few seconds pass. Then the ground lifts. It doesn't shake. It rises. Just slightly. Just enough for your knees to notice. And then drops again. Like something massive punched the earth from the inside. Then the sky lights up. Far off, on the horizon, an arc of brightness blooms like a second sun. Brighter than fire. Brighter than lightning. White hot and wide. It expands upward and outward. You don't hear the sound yet, but the light hits first, then the heat. Even from here, it's like opening an oven into your face, one made of plasma and velocity. Birds erupt from the trees. Pterosaurs launch into the air. Some crash into each other mid-flight. The animals below you scatter, but not in chaos. They move with urgency, not panic, like they've done this before, or their ancestors have. You just stand there, frozen, and then the sound hits, a roar so deep it doesn't enter through your ears. It hits your ribs, a full-body sound, low, grinding, endless. You duck instinctively, though there's nothing above you. You're breathing fast, mouth dry, body covered in sweat that isn't from the heat anymore. This is it. Whatever it is, it's begun. You're running again. Not for food, not from claws or teeth. You're running because the planet told you to. Behind you, the light. Still rising, still spreading, still wrong. Not fire, not a storm. Something else. The sky ripples with color. Not beautiful, just impossible. Purple bands, green arcs. A shimmer that crawls across the clouds like bruises on the atmosphere. You trip, catch yourself on a tree trunk. Keep moving. Your feet hit soft soil, then rock, then a slope you didn't see coming. You tumble, roll twice, land in a shallow creek. Water hits your face, cool, sharp. You blink, and then it happens. The sound changes, not louder, deeper. The trees around you begin to move, not from wind, but pressure. Air slams into the forest like a hammer made of heat and mass. Leaves rip from branches. Birds fall mid-flight. The canopy groans like it's being peeled apart. You hit the ground, arms over your head. The blast hits. It's not just noise. It's force. The world shoves you. Dirt lifts. Rocks scatter. The creek floods suddenly, surging past your arms like it's trying to escape too. Branches snap. Trees bend. A cloud of ash and dust roars overhead, blotting out the sky. The sun vanishes. The fire behind it doesn't. You sit up after a minute, maybe two, covered in debris, ears ringing, mouth dry. The forest around you looks like it's been sandblasted. Leaves gone, color gone, everything a uniform grey-brown. You're coated in fine dust. You try to stand. Your knees disagree. So you crawl to a fallen log and pull yourself up. That's when you realize the temperature dropped. Fast. The air that was molten a few minutes ago is now cold. Not cool. Cold. The kind of sudden chill that doesn't ask permission. It just arrives. You shiver, not just from temperature, from realization. That was the shock wave. The impact, wherever it hit, is now changing the atmosphere itself. You look around. The insects are gone. The birds, silent. No movement in the undergrowth. The jungle, stopped. And for the first time all day, it feels like you're truly alone. Not just hiding, not just surviving. Alone, in a world that knows something has broken and is waiting to see what breaks next. You're moving again, because staying still feels like waiting to be erased. The forest is silent, not quiet, silent. No birds, no insects, no rustling of undergrowth or distant screeches. It's like sound forgot this place existed. You step carefully over a downed branch. It cracks louder than it should, because there's nothing left to compete with it. You scan the tree line. What used to be green is now ash-blasted grey, leaves shredded, branches stripped bare. The color's been pulled out like someone drained the saturation slider on your reality. Above you, the sky is changing again. Not blue, not grey, orange, not from sunset, but from the clouds themselves. They're glowing. You stare, unsure if it's an illusion. But the light pulses, flickers. A glowing haze stretches across the sky like an upside-down wildfire. Except, it's not burning down. It's raining fire. Tiny sparks drift from the sky, fluttering like slow, cruel snowflakes. One lands nearby, ignites dry ferns instantly. Another hits your shoulder. You slap it out before it can bite. You break into a run again. The heat returns, fast and hard. But it's wrong. Not ambient. Not like sunlight. It's radiant, coming in waves from the sky, like the world's flipped the heat source above your head. Up ahead, movement. A pair of triceratops burst through a thicket, horns low, barreling like tanks made of muscle and panic. You dive sideways just in time to avoid being turned into prehistoric gravel. They don't even notice you. They just keep running, away from something you can't see yet, but already understand. Behind them, flames, crawling up trunks, leaping between branches, feeding on bark, leaves, and whatever else it can find. And it's spreading, fast. You change direction. The ground shifts again. A new tremor. But this one rolls, like something massive is moving under the surface. A wave inside stone. Trees sway. Rocks dislodge. Somewhere to your left, an entire slope collapses in a dry, grinding roar. Dust chokes the air again. You cough. Hard. Your throat burns, not from smoke, from chemicals. The sky is bleeding more than fire now. There's sulfur, ash, something acidic that makes your tongue taste like pennies. You press a cloth, or what used to be your shirt sleeve, over your mouth and keep going. In the distance, you see them. A group of hadrosaurs, usually noisy, usually jostling, now dead quiet. Heads low, eyes wide. They're walking single file into a ravine, not because it's safe, but because it's somewhere. You don't join them, because ravines are traps, flood zones, choke points, places where a stampede becomes a pile. Instead, you move up slope, skirting the ridge, looking for elevation, air, a moment of visibility. You reach a rise. At the top, you stop, not because you're tired. You've been tired for hours, but because of what's above you. A new light, bright, white gold, pulsing behind the clouds like a second sun trying to claw its way through. And this one moves, not across the sky, toward it. You don't know what it is, but the animals know, even the brave ones, even the apex predators. They're gone, and now it's just you, on a hill, watching the sky glow, like the earth forgot how to survive itself. You're standing on a ridge that didn't exist yesterday. The ground rose here, cracked and folded by pressure you weren't around to witness. Below you, the valley burns. Not evenly, not cleanly. The fire skips and dances like it has a personality, like it's choosing what gets to survive a few minutes longer. The dinosaurs are gone. No herds, no calls, no stomping feet. Even the insects have vanished. Which, if you understand how ecosystems work, is worse than if the dinosaurs had. Above you, the clouds are glowing white, solid white. Not smoke, not storm. A sky made of backlit dust, thousands of miles wide, boiling with energy that hasn't reached you yet. But it will. You're breathing fast, short, like your lungs have figured it out before your brain. There's no oxygen anymore. Not really. It's ash, soot, fumes. Everything burning above is falling now, and the air knows it. You sit on a rock, not because it's safe. Nothing is. You just don't want to die running. You look east, over the trees, past the distant ridgelines, to where the light first came from. It's darker now. The horizon is black, a roiling wall of soot and particles, miles high, moving faster than wind should be able to push it. You've read about pyroclastic flows. This one's planet-sized. Somewhere below, a dinosaur calls. One long, low sound, hoarse and desperate. It's not a roar. It's not a threat. It's a question. And no one answers. Because there's no one left to. Then the flash comes. Not lightning. This is bigger. The kind of light that comes from impact. Your whole body flinches. Not from pain, just from knowing. Seconds later, the wave hits. Not air, not wind. Pressure. The kind that turns trees into splinters before they hit the ground. The kind that peels the bark off mountains. The kind that erases everything that doesn't dig in and hold fast. But you're not fast. You're not shielded. You're just there, watching, waiting, witnessing the end of a world. Because this isn't just a bad storm. It's not just an extinction event. It's the extinction event. A rock 6 miles wide, moving at 20 kilometers per second, slamming into what is now the Yucatan Peninsula with the energy of 10 billion Hiroshima bombs. What happens next isn't symbolic. It's physical. Firestorms, acid rain, earthquakes that circle the planet like drunken ghosts, tsunamis taller than skyscrapers, and a global winter that will last for years. Everything big dies. Everything heavy. Everything fast. Everything with teeth too large and stomachs too greedy. What remains is whatever can hide, whatever can wait, sleep, hibernate, burrow, adapt, the tiny, the soft-bodied, the unimportant. For now. And just like that, the age of dinosaurs is over. Not in one dramatic blast, but in the slow, relentless silence that follows it. You sit still, as the air thickens, as the sky collapses, as the world remembers how to start over.